just mentioned, the first one we're going to start with is organize, track, and define work. But we're going to have a little bit of an introduction to GitLab before doing so, just to kind of give an idea about what is GitLab? What is a GitLab? I get this question all the time. So we have it in this workshop to be able to express to people, what is GitLab? What is a GitLab and why? So 18 years ago, or once upon a time, there was a time when we had all of these different things for doing different things, right? Oh, bad. That's really bad, right? Pronoun reference there for things on things. But you had something for a phone to be able to call people. That's what kind of where the Nokia comes in. Does anyone remember Zune? The Zune portable MP3 player of way back when?
It was the
Some
best
people,
thing I ever
hopefully.
had, Tony. It was the best thing. I loved it.
It's the best thing ever. Right, absolutely, it was. What about the daytimer? That even goes farther back. That was the journal, right? They had your calendar in there, and you're able to again organize your work and everything that was in there. You also had your Canon camera that, just a point and click kind of thing where you just were able, and same thing for the Nikon. You had this point and click digital camera that you could take digital photos with. You didn't have to develop film. Yeah, I don't even know if people even remember that. And then you had your Walkman. I just had a friend that visited Sony the other day, and they got to go through the Sony Museum and see the other Walkmans and the Discmans of yesteryear. Anyway, at one point you had all sorts of different devices for doing different things in your daily life, for being able to wake you up with as an alarm, or be able to take pictures, or be able to send a text message. Motorola isn't on here, right, for doing those text messages. We do have Palm though, right? The Palm Pilot. Oh my gosh, this is like going through a museum. But basically you had all these different devices for doing different things, and you were able to connect them maybe through a wire or maybe through the computer or so, just be able to share the data among all the different devices. So you had a unified approach to be able to have all of your stuff together. But that was disrupted with the smartphone. Nowadays, you just have a smartphone that includes in many of the technologies that we saw on the previous page. It's your camera, it's your email that you can email from. Who does that, right? It's your text messaging. We have to add the text in here. Oh no, we got text. And then you've got your phone, maybe the beeper, right? The pager. The pager just went away, I guess, except for doctors. You've also got your music device on your phone where you have, maybe your iTunes, or maybe you've got Spotify, or whichever music's subscription you may have. You also have your access to the internet or to the web. You've got your weather, etc. But all of this was all integrated into one device, your phone. And nowadays, people have a tough time trying to live without their phone. I know I do. It's all right. So this kind of gives you an idea or an analogy for looking at GitLab. Within GitLab, it's also possible to have many different types of tools to do many different parts of software development. So maybe you have something for testing, maybe you have something for development, maybe you have something for deployment of your application. All of these different types of tools you can use, but you have to worry about such things as integrations. You have to worry about being able to have them work with each other, subscriptions that you may have to different products and so forth, or buying them, etc. So you can, with all these different tools, put together or cobble together a way to be able to do your development. But with GitLab, we are kind of like the cell phone to that, where we can unify everything together. And if you're still running on the road of having different disparate tools, you can also have tool sprawl that comes from that because, all right, we have most of the things we need, but we need this other tool as well to be able to do this other thing that we have within our development. So let's go ahead and include that. But the things that happen when you have all these different tools is that you have those integrations I was talking about before, that you have a tough time with transformation because you have all these different tools that may not be advancing at the same pace, or they may not be providing everything that you need. It makes it more difficult to collaborate because maybe you have one place to look at some part of the development life cycle, you have another place to look at another part of the development life cycle. It makes it difficult to have a cohesive view of everything you've got. Plus, you also have time spent in maintaining all these different applications, upgrading them, whichever you need. But then, as I had mentioned, GitLab provides a unified platform to have all of the development needs met. So you've got the ability to create epics as part of your planning process. You've got the ability to create merge requests as doing your coding. You've got the ability to be able to test, that you have security tests that are included or automated tests that you can do. And here at GitLab, we have our corporate values that include iteration. So by using GitLab, we have the ability to iterate upon our products on a feature branch until we get them right, until we're ready to merge them into our default branch. And here we have the ability to merge into our default branch. And then it's like, okay, now that we've merged into our default branch, we're ready to deploy. So then we can deploy from there. And then by having deployment and getting these features out to our customers more quickly, makes us a competitive differentiator, as a lot of companies want to be as well. They want to deploy more frequently to be able to get the features that they've been working on out to the public to be able to utilize as quickly as possible. So that's what GitLab is all about. It gives you the ability to run the entire DevSecOps process without having to go to a different tool. Now, the other side of GitLab as well is we also are very good at doing integrations. So if there is a specific tool that you cannot live without that is essential for your business, we have the ability to be able to integrate with it as well. However, wouldn't it be easier to have everything in one place instead of having to go to a different place? And that's what GitLab offers you. Okay. So yeah, if you have any questions on that or anything or any comments, we're always looking for feedback, especially me. If you have any suggestions on how that could be better, please throw that in there as well. I would appreciate it. So let me go ahead and go on with our show, which is how do we organize, track, and define work within GitLab? What are we going to do for that? And here is where we are within our agenda for today. Organize, track, and define work. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is create a group on GitLab and add some initial issues so the development team can get used to using GitLab as a single platform for all development needs. All right, so a little bit of an introduction as to the structure of GitLab in terms of project management is that at the top level of GitLab, you have what is known as your organization or your namespace. And this gives you a top level group to be able to build from. From that top level group, you could create, in this case, as an example, a line of business as a subgroup. So we have maybe our consumer products as a group. Maybe we have our internal projects as part of a group. Maybe we also have one for infrastructure or whatever we need. But the beauty of GitLab is the ability to be able to have these groups available so you can organize the project in such a way that makes sense for the company and makes it easy to find. Okay, I want to get to this project. I know it's in here. The other thing that's nice about groups is the ability to roll up the information. So if you look at information at a specific group level, like here, it will include in the subgroup information as well as the projects that are there. You could also roll up the information in the subgroup so that you have an idea at each different level. How are the projects doing? What kind of information is within the projects that we can roll up in terms of epics or issues? And it really is helpful for helping you keep organized. Okay, so the organizations exist at the top level, as I'd mentioned. The groups provide a layer for strategic planning, governance, and management, and then subgroups are nested. And then projects are also where the team or where the rubber meets the road, where the teams are going to do their development, and those will also be part of your subgroup or your group. And again, any questions or anything like that, feel free to throw it in the chat. We'll be doing this as part of the hands-on exercise. So doing the hands-on may also give you a little bit better impression about what this is all about. I know when I was first seeing it, I was like, "Waha," but as you go through it, I believe you'll be able to catch on. So defining our work, we kind of follow a Scrum methodology, if you will, where we have epics, sub-epics that are included, and issues. So the epic is kind of the largest or the highest of the hierarchy, where we put in the capability that we want to accomplish within our uh, project itself. So that epic will be a grouping of issues, and then you can also have sub-epics there that you see that you could also include in. So it helps you organize your work in such a way that you're accomplishing a capability that you want to do within your project. Okay. And then epics can include strategic initiatives across the organization, an idea creation for a line of business. Sub-epics represent smaller pieces of the larger epic so that we can group them together that way. And then issues are small, discrete pieces of work. It's going to be the issue that is going to be turned into a merge request for the developer to work on in case there was any confusion on that, so that you have traceability from that merge request that goes back to the issue. So the issue describes the work that needs to get done. The merge request is where the rubber is going to meet the road, where the project is going to be developed. So you have a one-to-one relationship with that. You can actually have several issues within another, but I don't want to complicate it more. Anyway, we'll get into that. And then we have tasks that also help us break down an issue and can do specific steps, if you will, within the issue itself. And then issues can be stories for building new products and services, enhancing capabilities, or defect fixing. So it's not just meant for enhancements. It could be bugs that you have as part of your issues, so that you can have a variety of different types of units of work that you're doing as part of your project. Okay. And then tracking our work. So within GitLab, you have the ability to build roadmaps based on the epics that you create. And we'll go through that as we're going through the hands-on exercises. We have iterations. As Ed mentioned before, our release 18.0 with GitLab is an iteration that we have on the monthly basis here at GitLab, come out with a new uh, release every month. So we can also use iterations to be able to define our work. We can also use milestones to be able to track the issues and merge requests set against a set period of time at a group, subgroup, and project level. Remember, as I had mentioned, the groups give us the ability to roll up that information either at our uh, project level, subgroup level, group level, organization. We can roll up the information throughout that gives us visibility into how we're doing across the organization. Okay. So getting back to where we are with, if we were to kind of map this out into what we just talked about in terms of the organization, how we do it, and how it relates, is that we have our groups that we can form within our organization. Those groups can have subgroups, if you would like. And then we have projects that are part of a group. So a project can be part of a subgroup or it can be part of a group, just depending on how you organize. And if people on the line, I sometimes get this question about, okay, how many subgroup levels can you go to? And I believe the correct answer is 7. But if anyone has updated information or can correct me if I don't have that right, or if anyone has that question, then you have that available to go 7 levels deep if you need to. And then, and then if we go to the definition, we have our epics, or our largest unit, if you will, that can include planning and it at our project level. Then we have issues that can be included in epics. We also have sub-epics that can be included within epics. We'll do this through the hands-on exercises, as I had mentioned too. So if it seems a little unclear right now, as we go through the exercises, please feel free ask any questions as you go through, but I think as we're going through the hands-on exercises, it'll become a lot clearer. This could be a little confusing. So then you have your issues as well, which are your units of work that you'll be working on. They could either be bugs, it could be enhancements, etc. And we can include issues actually within our epics too. So those are available. And if we're looking at this from a tracking perspective, we have a roadmap that's kind of like a high level that includes all the different epics that will show us how are we doing in our development of our product or our project. We have the roadmap to help us out with that. That'll show the different epics within our project. We also have milestones that will be represented there. And then our roadmap that we have on a subgroup level, we have that as well. And then project milestones that we've got. So you can have a roadmap going back to rolling up, right? We have a roadmap that we can represent at the highest level that will include all the different subgroups within it. So we have across the entire company how our roadmap is going or how development is going. We also have roadmaps that we could have within a subgroup level so that we could see, okay, from our projects that are included in this group, how are we doing with our development? So this gives us the ability to see it at a high level, everything, or at, you know, disparate parts or just I'm looking for the right word there, for being able to do your roadmaps at the subgroup level instead to understand, okay, how we're doing within that specific subgroup. Okay.
Hey, Tony, quick clarification. You can have 20 levels of subgroup. So
Oh, thank you, David. Thank you. So 20. I don't know how I would get that, but some people could.
technically you can have seven, but you can also have more than seven. So there you go.
So I get the partial credit maybe, but thank you for the clarification. Appreciate it. All right. Okay, so doing work. So as you may or may not know, we actually have a Git repository that is included as part of GitLab. So the Git repository is the foundation of the GitLab project. We will be storing the information that we create as we're going through and doing our project planning within our Git repository and a database that we have within GitLab. Merge requests, as I had mentioned before, are project assets to visualize and collaborate on proposed changes in source code. So I define it as being where the rubber meets the road, as I keep saying that. It might be a little cliche at this point. I apologize. But that's where the development work will be done. Those merge requests are associated with what we call a feature branch. And that feature branch is where the coding will be done. And then when it is deemed appropriate that all the work has been done on the feature branch accurately and quality, then we could merge that back into our default branch. I know, sorry, it's maybe getting a little bit more complicated for what we're covering today, but that's really what the merge request is. And we'll see that within our project. We could also use code reviews as discussion threads on the merge request so that the merge request becomes a vehicle to be able to collaborate with the entire team, that you could put in comments into your merge request and then be able to take a look at what those comments are and then get input from other folks, be able to approve them as part of the project, etc. And then we have an approval of the merge request that then deems the feature capability that we put together appropriate and quality and ready to be merged into our default branch. So that's where we can say, okay, go ahead and merge our merge request back into our default branch and then accept all of the changes that are part of that merge request. Okay, so a little bit more definitions there. Again, any questions, please feel free. One of the exciting things that's happened at GitLab recently as well is that we've introduced a new role that is called Planner. And this allows you to be able to plan and manage the work for your teams. So many of you may know that within GitLab, we have three different tiers, if you will, that we have of GitLab. We've got a community edition or free version that's there. And you have all of these capabilities within the community edition. So for instance, in my account that I just signed up for, I don't have uh, a premium or ultimate subscription. I do for this particular environment because this is part of the Learn Labs, as we had spoken about before we started. This particular instance or this environment that I've got has ultimate applied to it. However, within my normal GitLab instance, I wouldn't have all of the capabilities that I have within Ultimate and Premium included. I would have everything that I would have here, though, which is nice. And then if I go and have a premium subscription, I get everything that I've got within my community edition, along with these capabilities that are there. I'm not going to read through them. You'll be able to have this deck after our exercise that you can take a look at it. And then for Ultimate, here are additional capabilities that I've got available that we will see within our environment that we have for today to be able to work with. So that's kind of cool. It's nice to be able to get an exposure to see what Ultimate is all about as we're going through the hands-on exercises. So labels. So label it all. Here at GitLab, we use labels extensively throughout GitLab to be able to organize, to be able to find, to be able to understand where we are with things. The label is very helpful for allowing you to do this. So it helps you to categorize your epics, your issues, and your merge requests by putting labels on there. And we'll see this as we're building our planning board and everything, how we can do that. So it helps you quickly and dynamically filter, helps you to search, helps you to set up your boards that you will. So kind of like Kanban methodology, if you're familiar with that. We also have that built into GitLab where we have issue boards that we could take a look at to see how we're progressing with all the different issues we have and help to organize them. And then we could also set up the labels to be at a project or group level. So we have those available to all of the different issues within a project or issues within the group level, etc. So again, we have a unified way of being able to look at things and being able to apply those labels. So that's pretty cool. I like this animation that we have going on down here too. And we'll see like how that goes, but we can prioritize how our labels are. So maybe we have our bug that we want to set higher than critical, and that animation is showing you how you can do that. Okay. All right. So guess what? Now we get to have the rubber meet the road a little bit. How many times can I say that within this webinar? We shall see. The future is unknown. So I'm going to go ahead, and if you are with me, you can go ahead and do this too. Going to go ahead and click on organize and define work. But actually, what I'm going to do, yeah, all right. I'll do it here. Once I do organize and define work, this is something new that we have within GitLab as well. It's kind of like a quick view into an issue. So here we have a quick view that helps us to see um, what we have within the issue. If we wanted to open the issue itself, we could click on the link that we have here. So we open up the issue. All right. So this is where folks should be at this point. We're on issue number 1, which is organize, track, and define work. Okay. So here we've got some steps to do within our workshop environment. So the first will be instruction prep and then create a subgroup, etc. As we go down, and you'll see there's a read more link here. If I expand on that, then get all of the instructions for doing the lab. Now, a little bit of trick that I do here is to be able to create a new tab on what I've got here. And so I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. And this gives me the ability, I'm curious to see with this share, if this will go continue to share here. Maybe not. I guess it won't. But I could always change the share too. So no worries. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is, let me go ahead and do that. I'll share yet another screen. So if you give me just a second, I'm going to stop the share and reshare and do 3 instead. Okay, we'll do this one, and this one. And now we share 3. Okay, hopefully that worked as I expected it to work. Is everyone seeing okay, yeah, I think that's right. You see 3 now?
Three now, yeah.
All right. Thank you, David. So I've kind of covered up the one in the background, but we'll get back to that. But this, by having this split out window, if you will, I can have the instructions on one side and then be able to work on the other side. So that's why I did that. So I have my instructions over here on the left, and I'll actually do the work over here on the right. So as I had mentioned before, go ahead and click on the read more. You've got that. We're going to go ahead and create our subgroup. So did I assign myself? Okay. So instruction prep, this issue provides hands-on instruction for part 1. Please click assign yourself. So that's over here. I'm going to go ahead and assign myself to this issue. So now I'm Mr. Anthony Bear, assigned to this issue, which is nice. Okay, now let's go ahead and create a new subgroup. So I'm going to go back into my Tanuki Racing project, and I can do this by my breadcrumbs that I've got here. Or actually, I wanted to go here to my test group. I've got, sorry, I kind of give folks a couple seconds to be able to get here too. So this is where I have my group level. This is the other one that I had was my project, which is here. And I said group, but I clicked on the project. So sorry about that. The group that you want to go to is actually called my test group. So it's pretty obvious for that. And then you'll have like a kind of an encrypted kind of group name or a group name that's associated. This gives us a way to have everyone be unique within our different groups so that we don't have any collisions or anything. So, okay, let's go ahead and go into our task to complete. We're going to create a new subgroup. So over here within my project, I'm going to say new subgroup. And I'm going to provide a name, Tanuki Racing Group, and I'm going to just go ahead and copy it because I'm a decent typist, but this way I have assuredness that it's going to be okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and create the subgroup, and that's just by clicking on the button that I've got here. Oh, Group name must not contain. No, it should not. I don't think I have one. Okay, go ahead and create the subgroup. That's just a warning. Okay, so now I've got a new subgroup that's created called Tanuki Racing Group. This is pretty nice. All right, now next within our instructions, we are going to go ahead and import a new project. I'm going to click on the new project button that I've got here. And then it says to import the project. So I'm going to go ahead and import the project. And I'm going to copy the URL of the project I want to import. Again, to make it easy, I'm going to get a space there. I have to watch out for that. And I'm going to import the repository by URL, as it says within our instructions. I'm going to put in the repository URL in here. Yep. Get rid of that space. So far, so good, everyone. Okay. Now, given a little bit of visibility here, because this is a public visibility project, I don't have to include a username or password. However, if it was private, I would need to have the username and password and be a member of that project to be able to import. But in this case, just a little bit extra, given that this is a public project, I can go ahead and import it. Now, the visibility level is set to private. That's fine. That's because everyone's group is set to private. So those privileges that you have at the group level get assigned to the project level. So that's why this is automatically private. I'm going to go ahead and click on create project. And now I have an import in process. So what we're doing here is we're creating the hierarchy that we are talking about earlier. We have our top group level here, which is called My Test Group. Then we included in a subgroup called Tanuki Racing Group. And now we've created a project. So you can see the hierarchy that we've created. So we've got our Tanuki Racing, My Test Group as the highest level here. We've got our Tanuki Racing Group as a subgroup level. And then we've got our project level. So right now we're working with 3 different levels. Uh, and we did that without even thinking about it. Anyway, so now we have a new project here called Tanuki Racing, which is nice. Okay. All right. Planning. Okay. So once your project has been imported, which it has, you may have a number of questions on how to get started. So we actually have GitLab Duo chat, as I had mentioned before, available within this environment. And so we can actually utilize GitLab Duo chat to be able to ask questions if we like. So for instance, where can I see my project's issues? I go ahead and copy that into my GitLab Duo chat. And then it will give us back a response as to where do we see our project's issues. And GitLab Duo will come up with an answer with that. Okay. And then we can assist with visual diagrams. We can navigate to this link and then be able to create a Gantt diagram for this epic, etc., if we wanted to. So here we have a response back from GitLab Duo about where you can get to your issues. So we can go to project sidebar, as you see there. We can then click on issues that we've got available, and then we can go to the issues dashboard if we'd like to, etc. So those are different places that we can find our issues and be able to work with them. All right. So let's go ahead and try this too. GitLab Duo chat can also assist with visual diagrams. We can navigate here. I wanted to do that within a new tab so I could have that information there. Let's do that again. Open a new tab. All right. And then once that new tab opens up, then we can ask it to create a Gantt diagram. So let's do that. In fact, the Gantt diagram will be a lot like our roadmap. You'll see that once we get into that. And if you're familiar with Gantt diagrams, uh, you'll know why, or you'll see why that is. So please create a Gantt diagram for this epic. GitLab Duo is working on an answer for that, and we'll put one together. And was trying to expand this out because you'll see the diagram. Yeah, here it is. So it's a little bit squished in here, but this is a Gantt diagram that we've created just based on what we have within this epic, which is kind of cool. Okay. All right, now we're into our label creation. Uh, just taking a quick look at the time, see how I'm doing on that, if I'm falling behind or not on time. All right, so in the left-hand navigation menu, we can click through Manage Labels. So here's Manage, and then Labels. And we don't, let's see, we don't have any that we've created yet, so I can click on New Label here for that. And I can give this label a name. Let's call it P1, as we have within our instruction. P1 in the title, and then select a color. Let's do, I, unfortunately, I'm colorblind. So I think that was green. I hope it was green. Okay, so we got P1 that we just created. Let's do this again for P2, workflow planning and also workflow review. These are scoped labels. So I'm going to go ahead and click on new label. I'm going to put in P2. And you'll see what I mean by scoped label. We use the green. Let's use the dark violet. Thank you. See, that's lucky for me. I have a little bit of automation there to help me with my color. You could probably tell by the way I'm dressed. I'm not very good with color. Okay, let me go ahead and put in a workflow planning scope label. Okay, and give it a different color here, crimson. And then finally, we'll put one in for workflow review. So go new label, workflow review. Pick one that I haven't done already. Charcoal gray. Yeah, that works for me. Oops, I didn't spell that right, did I? Oh well, my bad typing. Okay, so as I mentioned before, for Kanban type of thing, we could actually create a new board for our issues. So if we go into plan here and then go into issues, issue boards. So we have under here, we've got a board here that's called development, and this is one that's already included when you create a project that has your open and closed. It's helpful, but it could be more helpful if we expanded on that a little bit, and that's what we're going to do. So we're going to create a new board here, as step number 2 indicates. So create a new board. So go into here in development, go create new board. And in the board name, as you saw, I had that typo before, so I'm not going to take any chances. I'm going to go ahead and copy over for my title. Team scoped board. Okay. Ensure the open and show closed list checkboxes are there. Show open, show closed. That looks good. And go ahead and create our board. All right, so now we have a new one that's called Team Scoped Board. And the board view doesn't automatically change. All right, so we can add to this list. So let's create a new list. These are lists, easy for me to say. This is a list of open issues. We don't have anything in there yet, as well as a list of closed issues. But we can put a new list in here and use our labels for the list. So a new list, and we're going to use labels, and we're going to use workflow planning. And I can actually filter on here just by starting to type in. So now I've got a new list for my workflow planning. And then let's go ahead and create another new list called workflow review, a new list. Select a label, workflow review, review. I'm gonna have to change that, but I don't want to slow down where we are. Okay, add to the board. So as we add issues in the future, if they contain the scoped labels, they will automatically appear in this labels board, which is cool.
Hey, Tony.
Okay, question?
Quick question. Yeah. I think it'd be a good point just to maybe stop, make sure everybody's where they need to be. Maybe slow just a little bit. We got a little request just to make sure that we're keeping up with that. So,
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for letting me know. So yeah, let's give just a little bit of time for folks to be able to catch up? Thank you. Yeah, I've done this before, so I can tend to just keep going. But for those new, I can understand definitely. Home page, home squeeze. All right. Create project milestone. This is where we are now, step 6 on our first issue, where we're going to create a project milestone. So please indicate in the chat, I guess, if you're ready to roll. Otherwise, we'll just take another few seconds to let folks catch up.
Checking to see if anybody's saying. Haven't seen yay or nay yet. I think go ahead and go so we can start, covering the material. But I'll let you know if anybody comes in and says anything else.
Okay. Yeah, if anyone, thank you. If anyone, I'm not monitoring the chat, so I'm sorry about that. And I appreciate, yeah, letting anyone, yeah, just like you did, David, just let me know. Slow down or whatnot, where we are is great. So, all right. So now let's start creating some milestones. So if we go into plan, we've got here and we go into milestones. We don't have any yet, so we're going to go ahead and create a new one. I'm going to be proactive and I'm going to copy over the name and knowing I'm going to have to do that anyway. Click on new milestone. I'm going to put in a new milestone here. And we're going to create the start date as of today. Oh, start date today. And then our due date, we're going to have 1 week from today. So that'll be the 22nd. Okay. This is, oops, see, is my milestone of the week. Okay, and then go ahead and create milestone. So now we've created a new milestone. We haven't assigned any issues to it yet, so this is why we're not seeing anything here. But we do have a milestone now that we could use to track how we're doing with our issues. So now that we've got kind of our infrastructure set up with our milestones as well as our labels, as well as our issue board, let's go ahead and create some new issues. So over here on the left nav bar, I'm going to go ahead and go into issues. And I'm going to create a new issue. And for this, I'm going to call this Create Project Wiki. In the description, this is actually where we're going to start taking advantage of our GitLab Duo capabilities that we have within GitLab for this workshop environment. I'm going to go ahead and copy over what we'd like to describe in here. So we want to click on the Tanuki icon, which is what I was hovering over before. And then we're going to generate an issue description. So here we can put in some text to be able to allow GitLab Duo to create a description for us. So I've asked it to provide a description around creating a descriptive project wiki. Go ahead and click on submit. And then GitLab Duo will take this information and then create a nice description that we've got. And it's pretty thorough. So it's got a description of a detailed and well-organized project wiki, key requirements that we've got there, acceptance criteria. And of course, we can modify this too, right? If we wanted to include in additional items like sign off by project leads or whatever. Or if there's stuff in here that we don't feel is right, we can take it out. Um, I don't know. I don't clear. I don't know. I think these are all good, so I don't want to take them out, but we could if we wanted to. Maybe not have to search. I don't know. I'm just kind of making it up as I go. but these are not, set in stone. These are just suggestions for you that you can take and be able to modify as you will or as you would like to be able to work with them. What's nice is that all of this is created within Markdown language, so we can actually preview what this looks like as what we'll have within the issue itself. So we've got these bullet points that we've got there. We've got the changes that we have, sign off by project leads, etc. And so we could use Markdown language notation here. I'm going to fail miserably by doing this, but I'm going to try it anyway. That's just kind of guy I am to be able to do some Markdown that I've got here. I might need spaces here. We'll see. Yeah, I think so. Sorry, getting off on a little bit of a tangent here, but I'm just kind of having a little fun. Yeah, look at that. Ooh, ah. But this is the type of thing that you can do within your Markdown languages. Is cool. So okay, we've got our descriptive project wiki. Going to go ahead and create the issue. I think I got that. Oh, or not yet. No, we wanted to assign, sorry. We got more work to do. So I'm going to go ahead and assign myself that I just did there. That was here on step number 7. And then we're going to assign the milestone Tanuki Racing Migration milestone. So we have milestone here, edit there. Here's our Tanuki Racing migration milestone that I have for my issue. We're then going to assign the label P2. So I can again search here to be able to get to P2. Right, so now we got a nice label P2. I'll give it a weight. So for those that are familiar with project management, the weight indicates the amount of effort of work that you have specific for this issue. 2, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. We're going to create a wiki too as part of the project. So you'll see if it's a 2 or what. All right. And then select a due date for next week. So here's our dates. Let's go ahead and edit that. Let's say due date of next week, the 22nd. All right. Leave all the other settings as is. Looks good. Creator issue. All right. And now we have our new issue, which is cool. Okay, now let's create a second issue. So let's go back into our issues here and create another one. I'm gonna go issues, new issue. And you saw we had that one that's already there, which is cool. All right, so we've got our create project wiki. We've got one for use, or we're going to create one now for use GitLab query language to enhance our uh, project wiki. Put that in the title. Okay, click on the Tanuki and let's create another nice description. I'm going to copy what I have. Sorry, I might be going a little bit fast again. Replace that with what I have. I'll give it a couple seconds for people to catch up. So again, now we have a nice description. And we can preview that, much like what I did before, just to see what it looked like on the merge request. Okay, so far so good. All right, I'll go ahead and assign this to myself. I'm going to assign the label workflow review. So I go into labels. Again, I can filter on these. This is, yep, my review. Okay, and you can actually do several uh, labels as well if you'd like. There isn't a restriction on there with how many labels you can have to further define your project. My milestone, let's see, do I have it? I'm going to give it a weight of 1. Okay. Do a due date of next week. Everything is going to be due next week. Here we go. All right. Leave all the other settings as is. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and create the issue. So another nice feature that we're going to highlight with creating our next issue, we will see just a moment. So, okay, I'll go ahead and go back into my issues. Now we have 2 of them. We've got our use GLQL to enhance our project wiki. We also have our create project wiki. All good? Okay, I've gone back into my plan issues. I'm going to click on a new issue that I've got here. and I'm going to give it the title of Test Out Service Desk. I'm just going to copy it because I can. I'm not the best typist. All right, and then in the description dropdown, this also highlights another capability within GitLab, is that we could actually have templates within our creation of issues that have things automatically populated. And you'll see we've got one here called Workshop Template. Go ahead and click on that. And this automatically populates our issue with the specific key actions, if you will. So we've got one for /assign. So it can assign the work to someone. So I could put in the @ and my username, much like what we had when we created the workspace. Here I am. We have our milestone that we can assign for it. We can also assign labels to it, in this case, P2. We can assign a weight of 1 and then a due date within 5 days. So these are quick actions that we can put in instead of going over here and going into the edit and assigning them. We can use these quick actions to be able to automatically do that. And then it doesn't have my change here. So I can put one in for this. This will allow us to try out the service desk capability. See how bad that typing is? No good. So once I create the issue, we'll have these things automatically populated for us. Okay, nice. So here we have our, it's not very fancy. I can change this as well if I want it. Anyway, go up here and I can add some stuff up here. I don't know what we want to do. Maybe bold it? I forget. I'm definitely going to mess this up, just so you know. Hopefully not too badly, but we can actually preview it here too to see what happens. Nope, see, it didn't work right. So I think I take out the space. I get confused sometimes. Let's try it. There we go. So we got now bolded and italicized. So we can save the changes there. Okay. So now we have our issue that's been added. We've got a label of P2 that's already there, weight of 1, the date. Oh, I probably needed to put that in as a real date. I'm going to assign it to next week. So everything is due on the same time. But from those quick actions, uh, it has the word instructions in there instead of actually, you could actually put in the date itself and then it would automatically be put in. But in this case, I didn't do that. Okay. All right. So now we have some issues to work with within our issue board. So let's go ahead and give that a try. So let's try out our issue boards. We go into our plan over here, put focus over here, go into our plan, go into our issue boards. So as you may recall, we created a new board here called Team Scoped Board that includes in our different labels that we've got. So check it out. Now that we have some issues and we have some labels that are assigned, you can see how they work within our issue board. So we had this one that was set to our review, that we got use GLQL to enhance our project wiki. We've got our create project wiki that we didn't have a scoped label to, so it just remains open. It hasn't been closed yet, so the state is open, and that appears within our open. All right, so let's go ahead and click and drag our test out our service desk. Oh wait, am I going? Okay, note that the issue is open list and one within workflow review. Yep, click and drag our test out service desk issue into our workflow planning list. So if I go over here, oh no, test out service desk, go into workflow planning. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and refresh that. And then now we have it within our workflow planning that we've got our test out service desk. And then we can drag the same issue into our workflow review. So as you see, it has that workflow planning that had been brought over from being in this list. However, now it's in workflow review. So hopefully you saw that it had workflow planning there before, but now that I put it under workflow review, the workflow planning goes away, and now it's part of the workflow review instead. Now it doesn't show up exactly here because it's already within the workflow review label, but if I pull it back here again, and we're going to do this probably again, you'll see it's there and then it goes away. So let's go back to where we are within our steps. Okay, so it's now in our workflow review. Note that the issue labels now include workflow review and not workflow planning. Click and drag the same one into close, and so that will close out my issue, like just like that. See if that workflow review goes away, and then goes into a status of being closed. Okay, click and drag into close the issue. Before moving on, reopen the issue by dragging the closed issue back to workflow planning. So let's do that. So I'd go ahead and take my closed one, go back to workflow planning. But you'll see that this gives you a way to be able to organize your different issues within your project to have a idea about, okay, where is everything within my entire development process? Okay, let's review our project milestone chart. So if we go into um, plan, and then we go into milestones, we can then click on the Tanuki Racing migration milestone. This was the one that we had created. And then you'll get some nice charts that show you a burn down chart as well as a burn up chart. This indicates the issue count that we've got there of 2 different issues that we have remaining that are open that we want to close. We are anticipating we have the due date of May 22nd, if you remember, a week from today. So that's why it's showing here on the chart is we anticipate to close these by May 22nd. So that's why we have this dotted line that says, okay, we've got 2 open ones right now. We're planning on working those and then having them close on May 22nd. And then if we scroll further down, we can see our open and assigned. These are the 2 issues that we're planning on closing by the 22nd. So this again gives us a high level view of all the different issues that we've got, when we're planning on closing them, etc. Cool. All right, and I think that is the end of this issue for this first one. Now, this one is the longest one, so um, that gives you an indication about everything that we've got. Okay, all right. So that concludes. Hopefully my screen sharing is still working correctly, and I'm now kind of focused on what we have within our slide presentation. So, all right, so now let's talk about planning our portfolio releases.
Tony, really quick, could you make the window a little bigger? It's kind of small and hard to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Is that
Sweet, thank
better?
you. Yes.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so here we are within our workshop for today. We're now on plan portfolio releases. So now that we have some issues added, we may want to fit them into some epics. And let's create some epics and uh, around getting the team familiar with the GitLab product and setting up our wiki and service desk. So let's do that. So much like we have the group and project hierarchies, we also have this within our epics. So we could have a child epic that's included within a parent epic. We could also have issues that are included within epics. So this diagram gives you an idea about how you can organize your issues as well as your epics within your project. So high-level epics are large features that involve multiple discussions on different issues. These large features can have child epics and issues as well. You can have, oh, this is probably where I got the 7 from. You can have up to 7 nested child epics. Okay, and then our roadmaps, as I had mentioned before, much like what you would see within a Gantt chart, the roadmap gives you an indication about how you're doing on your development effort. I can't read this, but maybe some people can. They give you a higher level roadmap. So we've got our epics that we show within our roadmap that give you dates for that. They also include in the issues and maybe sub epics that we've assigned. So it gives you from a calendar perspective how you're doing with respect to what you're getting accomplished within your epics in the form of your issues being completed. And that will show you on the roadmap. And we'll see that as we're going through the exercise. Okay. All right, so now we're ready for our second exercise, which is going ahead and planning our portfolio releases. So let's go ahead and switch back to my work environment that I've got. Plan portfolio. Oh, you just saw that one disappeared. Where did that issue go? Anybody know the answer? If you're experienced with GitLab, you may know that it's in the close now. I've closed that out. just 2 minutes ago, you see. Okay, so I'll go back into our open issues. I'm going to go ahead and plan my portfolio release. So here we have a quick view of what is included within there. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to kind of full screen it, if you will, quote unquote. And so here we've got our steps. Okay, again, click on the read more in order to get all of the steps there. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and assign it to myself, which is done here. Okay. And then now we're going to create some epics. So first we make sure we navigate to our Tanuki Racing group. So if you'll see, we've got kind of a breadcrumb, if you will, representation of where we are to be able to navigate quickly. So I am going to go ahead into my Tanuki Racing group. This is the racing group that I created early on in the project to house my Tanuki Racing project. I think I'm thinking back to what I said and making sure I was accurate. What I meant to say is that we're on the group now and it has my project included within it. I hope I said that right. I think I did, but when I was thinking about it, I wasn't sure. The group level is where we're going to be creating the epics themselves. So that's where we are and why we're there. Here we have the ability to create them. So I'm going to go ahead and go into plan and then epics. Another sidebar here is that within GitLab, you have the ability to pin popular places within this nav menu so you can get to them easily. I have gone ahead and pinned these where I can go to issues, I can go to my merge requests, I can go to my epics quickly. So you can do that if you go into plan, and then maybe I want to include in issue boards too. Go into plan, here's issue boards. There's a little pin that shows up here. I go ahead and click on that and then get a new pinned location I can get to so I don't have to nav through the menus. So that's just a little tip and trick. I like that. So that's why I pass this information on to you. All right, so now here we are within our epics. We'll go ahead and click on a new epic. Okay, again, I'm kind of pausing a little because I know I'm kind of might be going through this a little bit quickly. Give some folks a chance to be able to catch up. Hopefully, folks are still able or still on board. Okay, so I'm going to create my first epic called First GitLab Epic. It is epic, right? Go ahead and go into my dates. I'm going to give a start date of today. Today is the day, May 15th, 2025, and then select an end date of a week from today, the 22nd. Okay, leave the rest of the selection as is, and then go ahead and create the epic. Okay, now we have our first GitLab epic, which is pretty epic. Sorry. All right, so now that we've created our first GitLab epic, let's go ahead and click into that. And this is our epic. And so we've got now the ability to add in child items into this. So I'm going to go ahead and click on child items. As you recall, epics can include sub-epics. They can also include issues. So here I've clicked into my child items add, and I'm going to select new epic right here. And for this new epic, I'm going to call it GitLab Wiki Epic. I'm actually going to copy it over here. Okay, okay. This is my Tanuki Racing group. That's perfect. It's not confidential. I'm not going to mark it that way, but if you wanted to, you could go ahead and create that epic. And now I've got a GitLab Wiki epic that's also included as a child epic to my first GitLab epic. Okay. All right. And then let's repeat these steps to add the issue, use GLQL to enhance our project wiki, as well as test out service desk to the sub epic, GitLab service desk epic. So there's a lot of English to interpret there. But how I interpret it is let's create a new epic here called GitLab service desk epic as a child epic here. I'll put in a title for it, GitLab service desk epic, and create that epic. And once we're there, give it a couple seconds, you'll notice that we've got our GitLab Wiki epic. We've got a GitLab Service Desk epic. I can click into that and let's add in the issues that we've been asked to add. Okay. GitLab Service Desk epic. Then we can add in the issues, existing issue, and we can search them here by the name, or as you see, they are actually just popping up here because we don't have a lot of them. So we've got our use GLQL to enhance our project wiki, which is nice, and then also our test out service desk. So now we've got a couple issues that are included within my GitLab service desk epic. So add those guys, add those issues. So there we go. So now we have a couple issues that are grouped within my GitLab service desk epic, which is a child epic of the first GitLab epic. Okay. All right. Create project wiki. Did I do this? GitLab wiki epic. I think so. Let me see. I don't know if I did. Let's see. Go in here. Nope, I haven't added it yet. So sorry, I skipped a step there, which is to add a existing issue into my GitLab wiki epic. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Existing issue, same thing that we did before. We're now in our GitLab wiki epic. I can see this if I go back into my epic list, GitLab wiki epic, and I want to add an existing issue into there. So I'll say add existing issue. And then here we have our create project wiki. As you notice, I've got these other issues that are there too. The issues are not, they don't have to have a one-to-one relationship with an epic. You could have epics that include in the same issues. If they involve that epic as well, that way they become dependencies there. So you have the ability to do that as part of your project management. So now I've got a create project wiki issue that's also included in my GitLab wiki epic. So that makes sense, right? We're going to create our wiki. That's part of our epic. Okay. All good in the hood. So now let's go ahead and review the roadmap. So if we go back into our plan here, we have our roadmap. All right, so now we have our roadmap. And then we've just worked on this, right, over the time that we've had together here. So we don't have a lot here, but you can see, get an idea about what's going on here. Here's our milestone representation of working on our GitLab racing migration. We've got a GitLab, our first GitLab epic that's also on the same dates, and that it includes in the issues that we've got there. We've got a weight of 2 that's there. If we expand on it or if we click into it, we can see the issues that are there. But the roadmap gives us the ability to be able to see from a high level what epics are included, what issues are part of those epics. And then we also been able to group them from our top level epic. We've got sub epics or child epics that are available that include issues within them too. Okay. And that will conclude in this exercise too for planning our portfolio releases. And I think at this point, we're almost ready for a break, or not sure yet. Yep, there you go. So now we can take a little bit of a break and hopefully folks can catch on or catch up and ask any questions you may have based on everything that we've done so far. And how long should we have the break, those that are keeping track of the time?
Let's go to half past, so a little less than 7 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you. That was Logan from the background. All right, let's do that. Let's rejoin at the bottom of the hour. In the meantime, please enjoy these sounds in the background. And then, yeah, we can also take this time. If anyone has any questions, comments, observations, suggestions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. music reminds me of, or makes me think of being on the moon or something. I don't know why. Sounds like observatory music or something. I don't know.
There was a question about the duration of the break. We're going to convene again back at the bottom of the hour. So I'm on the east coast of the state, so it'll be 1:30 Eastern. So wherever you are, it'll be wherever that may
10:30 here on
be.
the West Coast.
Representing everybody. Love it.
For Logan, that would be 11:30.
Ben, I see a question from you there. Make sure you're not on the closed tab and you're looking at all or looking at open. Just make sure you're seeing that. If you're just seeing 1 and 2 for the instructions, if you closed them out. And Tony, if you could show that on the screen, maybe it will. Thanks.
Yeah, there we go. My mute button, I keep forgetting I muted myself, but yeah, you might be on the closed one. This is the one that we just completed, plan portfolio releases. We still have these two yet to go. So yeah, so Ben, since we're kind of online, what are the two open ones that you have? Or go ahead. Sorry, I don't know
It
if
says here
you're
you can use 1 and 2 for the instructions, but see 3 and 4.
okay. So 1 and 2 being the ones that are closed here, plan portfolio releases and organize.
No, he didn't close any of them. He looks like he only has 2 showing all together. He only has 1 and 2 all together. He didn't have 3 and 4.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. Let's check into that. Thanks, Ben.
Uh, Ben, if you comment your group name, I can check it out.
Thanks,
Or
Luke.
just paste the link to your group.
Tony, if I'm going to take over from here, maybe a good time for me to, if you want to stop, and I'll share mine.
Like that.
Well, I'm going to share my screen after this, right? Because I'm going to do the next part.
Okay, sure. Go ahead and do that.
And I'm also re-adding those issues.
We got about just another minute or so, and we'll get going again. All right, everybody. I think we are at the bottom of the hour here. This is a voice you have. Well, you maybe heard it, guess, off camera. My name is David Astor. I am a solution architect here at GitLab as well. Teammate of Tony's. Excited to take you on the last part, or the last two parts of the webinar today. Tony is still here. He's going to get a chance to say goodbye. We're going to do a live Q&A at the end, all that kind of fun stuff if we need to. But I am here to take you through the next steps of the workshop. All right. Thank you again, Tony, for taking us thus far. So I've got my system set up slightly different. I've got the screen you're seeing right now is the major pit stop. Again, just like we were doing with Tony, if there are any questions or comments or making sure we slow down, please let me know. I do have a tendency to talk fast when I get excited about something, so I'll make sure to keep it on the level for this one. Quick little background about me is prior to coming to GitLab, I used to work in an organization that was specifically around Agile planning. So that's all they sold. So I'm really excited about this particular part of what GitLab does. So let's go ahead and talk about some other things here. I'm going to fast forward here into our webinar. And the next steps we're going to talk about are GitLab query language and the project wiki. Tony already took us through the creation of the issues about these items, so we're going to go back to some of those as well. But essentially, we're kind of setting this all up for the creation of these two areas here. All right. So in the agenda where we are on this lap right now. We're moving right along to get us going here. And let's keep going with this. So let me make sure that I've got everything where I need it and go that way. All right. So let's move from here. So in this lab, what we're going to do is essentially we've defined our plan roadmap, and we want it to be easier for more folks to learn about what Tanuki racing is and see what currently planned work we have. So we're going to be creating a new project wiki, as well as using some GitLab query language to display some additional content in that particular wiki. All right, let's go ahead and do that very thing. The benefits of a wiki, again, as you can see here, easy to set up, really great for documentation. The GitLab wiki is going to support things like Markdown, Ruby documentation, GLQL, which is a GitLab query language for the content that we're going to put in there. And it is stored in the same project, but not in the same repository. So you don't really need to know all about that kind of stuff, but it's stored alongside your code, which is great. One thing I want to point out, and I did not know this until today, I wanted to have some sort of little factoid about Wiki. Everyone just says the word Wiki now, right? It's just part of our lexicon. But I don't know if everyone knows where it comes from, so I did a little research on that, and we use the word Wiki all the time. It actually comes from a Hawaiian word, wiki wiki, which means quickly or fast or speed. So when we say we want to create a wiki, we want to do something very fast. So it's a very, it's scaled down. It's a quick way to get something done. So there you go. If you're going to take anything away from today's webinar, well, take some stuff about GitLab, but take that factoid with you. Maybe you'll win some trivia at a bar sometime when you know that. So there you go. So that's what the benefit of a wiki is it's fast. It's really easy to create.
Hey, David, there's a request to either speak more loudly or move closer to the mic or one of or both of them.
Oh, interesting. I'm sorry. I'm kind of right up against it. Let me see if anything is better. Let me know if that's any better. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Still
that's
that way?
better.
Cool.
Thank
All
you.
right. I'll go closer this way. Thanks. Hopefully everyone heard my factoid about a wiki because that was great. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about GitLab query language now. So this is a new feature that's allowing you to embed GitLab content essentially in the platform. So on a wiki page, for instance, we're going to want to maybe display the issues that we're focusing on. Maybe there's a place where you want to look at maybe something you've labeled as bugs or defects, and it's a really quick way for you to pass that wiki page on to somebody about the bugs or defects that you're focusing on for maybe a particular milestone or a release, whatever it may be. But it's great. It can be used, and as you can see here, various aspects of the GitLab platform. So we can see it in epics and issues and wikis, like we're going to do today. All right. So the workshop instructions are just like we saw before. Hopefully, I think we were able to take care of that one particular user that was not able to see the instructions. Hopefully, everyone sees the instructions we're going to focus on right now, which is sections 3 and 4. And let's go ahead and jump into that. So I've got mine, again, slightly set up, oops, sorry, a little different. Um, I've got my side by side here. I've got my project on the left-hand side. And I've got the issues that we're going to focus along with on the right-hand side. It's very similar to what Tony had set up. It's just allowing me to show both of these items while we're going through. Okay. All right. So on the left-hand side, as we mentioned, we're in that Tanuki Racing project. But let's go ahead and open up that issue, that GitLab query language and project wiki issue. And as we saw, we've got our stages here, our steps here. I'm going to open up that read more that Tony was talking about so we can see all the steps that we're going to be doing right now for creating a project wiki and adding a GitLab query language to it. All right. So what we want to do is, sure, we can go ahead and assign ourselves to it. Why not? Let's go ahead and assign ourselves to that issue. That's important for when we start doing things like the issue boards that Tony talked about. We can separate that out to focus on maybe who's assigned to what particular work. You can make your own individual issue board if you want, just to focus on your work along those lines. It's a good way to just identify who's working on what. And you can have multiple assignees as well. So I could be sharing this with Tony, or Logan and I can be working together on something. So it's a great way to see who's doing what. All right. So now in the next part of our workshop, we're going to be back in that Tanuki Racing project that we originally imported. So if we look across our breadcrumbs, I am in my Tanuki Racing. I'll show you where I was. This is that Tanuki Racing project. If you happen to be back up at that same group, again, I'm just going backwards, you could get to your Tanuki Racing project by clicking here. Okay. And what we want to be is we want to be in that issue list that Tony helped us create. So I'm going to come over to, I can go to Plan, Issues, or I could use that pinned area. And I happen to have that pinned here because I go back and forth within the issues quite often. I want to make sure it's a quick shortcut for me to get there. So I have pinned this page to my project area. So I'll click on Issues here. All right. Now what we want to do is we want to take a look at the Create Project Wiki item. And this little drawer comes out and shows me the quick view of that. And I'm going to go ahead and open this whole thing up again so we can see it full screen. So I'll just do that. And what we want to do now is we're going to add some comments to this wiki, to this issue, so that we can kind of get an idea of what we want to do here. So in this case, maybe we want to come down and we're just going to add some comments all the way down at the bottom. And this is why I love having this side by side, because if we were checking this in associated to code, we could make the references here to the code we were working on. This could be associated to commits that we're doing in the code. We can see all this. It could be closed out when commits are done. There's a lot more we can do with the issues as opposed to just tracking the work being done here because we're on all in one platform. But in this case, we're going to do a very simple thing and just say something like, checking this issue out, or, checking out this ability, something like that. Okay, we're going to do that. And I'm going to say comment on here. Then what we're going to do is, just to force it a little bit more, I'm going to add another comment in here in the activity section. And I'm going to just copy this so we're not having me type that whole thing there. I'll just copy this and I'll put that into a comment as well. So the end goal of the wiki is to give insight into our adoption of GitLab. So I've added 2 comments, if you will, into this particular item. One other piece that we want to mention here is the idea that that AI can help you with large-grained issue summaries. So for instance, if you've got a number of issues you're currently working on, and one of these issues may be it may be long-lasting, or maybe even someone new coming into your team wants to get an idea of what's being discussed along this issue, right? Or what's happening as we're developing the work in this process here. You can use this View Summary button, and it does a quick AI summary of all of the comments that have been added into this issue, and it does it in a nice bullet-pointed format so that you can get a quick summary of what this is. So in this case, we see we're testing functionality, and this wiki aims to document GitLab adoption. As you can imagine, if this was a much larger issue, or if we're working back and forth with our security team and our operations team or our project managers, and work is going back and forth and comments are being said, maybe someone wants to get a quick overview of what the work's being done, they could use that View Summary button and get the comments in one quick place and see what we're trying to do here, right? just a quick little, helpful case there. All right. So let's go ahead and create the project wiki now at this point. So at this point, what we want to do is we're going to go into our plan area. It's already expanded for me, plan, and I'm going to open up the wiki page. Okay, so this is where we're going to create our first page. Let me scroll up a little bit so we can see what we're going to do. So we're going to create our project wiki. Again, a wiki being this quick area to capture documentation, whatever our working agreements may be, whatever it is, it's a quick way to gather information that you want to pass on to team members or people you want to share this work with. So let's go ahead and create our first page. And as you can see here, we're just follow along the instructions. We're going to call it home. The way that GitLab Wiki works, or most wiki, you have to have a home page. So we'll just keep this listed as home. There we go. We'll just keep it that. Okay. And with the content, we'll just copy this again so we don't have to see me do this. We'll just go ahead and say that this is our content. I'm going to go ahead and take out these little quotes here. There we go. This is the main page of our Tanuki racing application. Let's do some capitalizations, make it look a little nicer. There we go. And we'll just keep this pretty simple. As you can see, the format, we can change it to Markdown. I mentioned you can do it in RubyDoc, AsciiDoc, whatever you want to do there. But we'll keep it in Markdown to keep it simple and make it nice and lightweight for us. And we'll just go ahead and create this wiki page. This is as simple as it gets. We have created a very simple opening page for our wiki. All right. Now, for what we want to do next, what we want to do is, let me expand this out just a little bit so we have some more room, is what we want to do now is we want to go ahead and add some GitLab query language capabilities into one of our pages, as I mentioned. So while we're on this preview page, let's go ahead and go over to this pages sidebar. Now this sidebar is nice. It's going to give me really let's call it a lightweight table of contents of all the pages in my wiki, right? So as I create more and more items in my wiki here for this project, they'll expand down here. And I could nest them as well, which is what we're going to do right now. So under my home page, I'm going to click on this plus button here, which essentially is going to give me a nested page underneath that home wiki page. And right now, let's go ahead and say create a page. And we're going to create this page. We're going to call it the issue table. So I'm going to remove this little bookmark there, or a placeholder, and call it issue table. Easy enough. Okay. Now in the content area, we're going to go ahead and copy this work. And I've already got this set up. I'm going to explain something. As I'm copying this, I'm going to explain what I'm doing. I'm going to paste this over here because I've already got this pre-formatted. Now, when you copy this here, you know what? I'll go through that process and then I'll just take this back out. One second. I'm going to copy this from the instructions because this is one of our GitLab query languages. What it's going to do, and I want to just make sure everyone understands, it gives you two of these little tick marks here. I've got to remove this, right? We want to have the formatting just with the three tick marks on here, okay? So that's what we really want to have in this particular case. So we want to have the three tick marks followed by the GLQL and then the query after that. So we're building this query out. We're essentially making a table. We're going to capture the title, the state, the health, the epic, and we're looking at a table of issues here, and we're capturing these as columns associated with that, all right? Now, in the query itself, you've got some placeholders representing what your session code is and the group name. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring over a formatted one already. Let me bring this one over so you can see what that looks like. So you can take in what you need for yours. All right. You can see it's the environments, it's the session, it's the ID that you have up top. So this ID, actually, forgive me, this is from a previous one, but it's the session ID that you see here. So that Foxtrot 9, Echo 9 that we talked about earlier, you can just replace that in here. And then essentially what you want to do is you want to add in your ID and your Tanuki Racing group there. So it's essentially you want to replace that information with your group name, okay? So that's why you'll have that information in there. And when you do that, you can click on preview and you'll see a list of the issues that you currently have associated to you in this item. Okay.
Hey, David,
Yeah.
just a question within the chat is that if you could just maybe paste in the sample URL that you have for creating the table, I think I interpret the question as that.
So
just within.
that was my own that I had on there, so it won't work for them. So I was just showing one that was already created. So essentially, the what you're going to be pasting in is this right here. So you can copy this, paste this in, and then over see where it's a session code, you would just change that to your session code right here, right? So if I go back to this, and if I paste that in, all I've done is take out that here. I'll paste this underneath here. All I did was replace. You see that that session code with the, you would put in the F9, E9, FDAF there, right? This is from a previous one. That's why I'm showing that there. Does that help? And then you would modify that with the group name itself. So everything else after that, you would have your group name itself. So this is the group name here. I'll make good. I'll just change it so it looks like right here. Let's do this. IUD SKE. Oops, sorry, SKE 1T. There we go. Tanuki Racing Group. And then my session ID would be this F9 E9 FDAF, right? I think I've got that right. All right, let's do that. And let's see if that works. Let me take this out. Let me take this out. Oops. And go from there. There we go. So all I did was replace that with that a group ID and the session ID itself in that case. Let me know if that does still work for you or are you still having difficulties. Tony, you're seeing anything there?
I think, yeah, if you're still having difficulty, just throw it up in the chat and we can help you out.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, what's great about this is while we're waiting to see if anybody else has some issues with that, what's great about that is that if I now go, I'll just go ahead and create the page and we'll talk about that. Now what's great about this is that when I come to this, off of my homepage, if I want to see our issue table to see maybe these are the ones that I own or I'm responsible for, this is a great way to track and see the items in a wiki or on an epic or something along those lines. Absolutely, you still have the ability to go to your backlog and you can see your issue list, right? I can still go here and see my issue list, but this is a great way to just focus on using that query language to build out a query to focus on, let's say, some columns or items that you're maybe responsible for, maybe a different way, right? And then, of course, I could go, to these items. I can open this up and go directly, to that item in the project as well. Okay. All right. So that is GitLab query language that we put on there onto this particular table. All right. So now note that we can display plan information through through GLQL, right? So this creating these issues, creating a list of whatever we need to there. We can also make wikis an interactive space, so you can add comments below the wiki. So maybe somebody wanted to add a similar table but for bugs, so they can add a comment onto the wiki page as well because it's interactive. We want this to be between the team members who are utilizing and working within this particular wiki. So maybe somebody says something like, this is great, uh, but can we have one for bugs as well? Something like that, right? So that just gives some indication that maybe somebody else wants to see some work where another wiki page is created focusing on, let's say, defects or bugs. And then we can comment on there. Perfect. All right. And we can mention people's names. So I could have said, Tony, this is great, and mention his name on there so that Tony would get then a to-do and notification that something is needed out of him, right? So if I would have mentioned him, which I should have done, I could have mentioned him there, and then that way he understands what work is expected of him to get that completed. All right. Excellent. So that is a very small page, a small part of the instructions to get a wiki created and some GLQL in there. As I mentioned, the wiki here, you can continuously add pages. I can add sub pages underneath here as well. There's a lot we can do within the GitLab wiki to make sure that it's set up for the instructions that you want. Tony took us through the example of Markdown. So if you wanted to put some additional comment or commentary or formatting, it's absolutely part of what can be done within the GitLab wiki. All right. Let's see if let me go here and see if there's any kind of chat coming in, but I think we're okay for right now. Let me check. All right. I'm seeing some other questions, making sure that anybody is okay seeing that. Tony, I saw you post that. Is everything good?
Yeah, I am having difficulty getting out to all the different attendees or sending that information to the attendees themselves. So, but we'll take care of it in the background. Thank you,
Okay.
David.
Cool, cool. All right, well, let's go ahead and keep moving to the next part, which will really kind of wrap us up actually and talk about Service Desk. All right, so that is the last part of creating a wiki and adding that GLQL to that. Let's go ahead and be good stewards and close this issue. So we only have one issue left. Let's go ahead and go back into our presentation here. All right. So now we're going to talk about the next part of Service Desk integration. Okay. So what is a service? Oh, this is where we are in the lab. So everyone focuses where we are. We've done our wiki. We've created our query language as part of that. Now we're going to talk about getting some, if we wanted to get some feedback or we wanted to communicate with members who are outside maybe the project. So let's talk about Service Desk. So what's missing from here is in our current setup, we want to have the customer's voice in here. If you are all familiar with agile planning, we want to make sure that we get instant feedback or as quickly as feedback as possible on the work that we're doing. So we want to make sure that our customers have opportunity to give us information, provide feedback to us. So we're going to enable what we call GitLab Service Desk to make it easy for those customers to provide that feedback on the product state. So maybe we do a quick release, we do some quick iteration, we make a change, we focus on what they're looking for, and then we want to get that feedback. Let's go ahead and talk about what that is. So what is Service Desk? Again, it's a pretty simple to use service portal built right into the project that we're going to be focusing on. Customers, again, can email and get communication back and forth between the developers, the testers, whoever's doing the work, and it'll actually create an issue in GitLab when a Service Desk email is sent in. And I'll show you that. We're going to walk through that example in just a moment. Okay. So because they're created as issues, they get part of the backlog. We can focus on those. We can make sure we treat them just like we can with any other issues and schedule them into our upcoming iterations, have team members assigned to them, move them along the boards, but we can also communicate back and forth with the users that submitted them in that particular issue. Okay, well, let's keep moving. So, again, I kind of jumped the gun here. A little common workflow and use cases. Again, what we'll do is we'll provide a project-specific email address to your customers so they can then communicate back and forth with you. So in this case, they may want to create an issue for some work they want to see done. Team members can go to the Service Desk tracker and see what those support requests are coming in as. Then we can communicate, as I mentioned, back with the customer by responding to that particular issue. And then again, when the merge request is done, when code has been committed and code is actually being changed and merged back into the main repository, we can close the issue out and customers will be aware of when this is happening. Right? So again, it's an idea of just interacting back and forth with your customers around the code and what you're completing. Okay. Let's go through this last part and talk about creating a service desk and see what that looks like. All right. So I'm going to open up this issue. And one more time, we're going to just see everything associated with that issue. We'll assign ourselves to be good stewards of it, as we talked about earlier. And now we've got some area where we're going to go and talk about enabling. We've got to change the spelling. Enabling Service Desk on on our project itself. Okay, so now we should already have all this. There's nothing needs to be enabled. We have all this already, but I just want to show you where you can see where it would be. So let's go ahead and come down to our monitoring area. So we're going out of plan. We're going to go to monitor on the left-hand side. I'm going to click on Service Desk. As I mentioned, it's already active by default. And you can see this. It is a rather long email. This is what users can send your email address to. Now, this can be aliased on your side if you want to do that, if you want to provide that to something or to your users. But default, out of the box, you already get an email associated to this project based on our groups, based on the project that we're working within, that you can send to a user, and then communication to this is what's going to enable issues to be created in your project. Okay, but we're going to make a few customizations to this just to make sure that we're doing everything right. So once again, let's go ahead and go over to the left-hand bar. We're going to click on settings, or sorry, we're going to roll over settings, and we're going to go up to general. Looks like we got a hand raised real quick. I see a hand raised. Is there a question you want to post into the Q&A? that they can answer, or is that something that you let me? If that's something we need to take live, folks, let me know. But I see a hand raised, so if a question comes up, just kind of interrupt and let me know from the moderators. So I went over to settings and I went over to general. Now what I want to do is I'm going to come down to service desk. And this is where an owner or a maintainer of the project can make some adjustments. And not everybody can do this. I have to have specific permissions in order to make these changes. So this settings area only appears for me if I've got those permissions. All of you have permissions on your projects right now in order to do this. However, if you were to add some developers or guests or some other users in here without those, they would not have the ability to modify all the pieces and parts around this particular project. Okay, so we're expanding out the service desk area, and you can see there's a number of customizations we can do if we wanted to add a particular suffix here, if we wanted to have some sort of template appended to all the issues, that'd be really nice as well. So as a new issue comes in, it could be formatted in a certain way. So Tony talked about templates earlier. When we use that shorthand, the slash commands to create like the labels, etc. So you could create a service desk template that applies to all emails coming in from the service desk, which would be a really nice feature there. So they're all looking the same. What we're going to do is we're going to change the email display name to just Tanuki Racing Support Bot. So we'll just change that from GitLab to Tanuki Racing Support Bot, right? And we're also going to make one other change here. We're going to reopen issues when an external participant comments on those, because we want to make sure that it's constantly it's not worked on, or it's, if we already closed it out and somebody comments on there again, we want to make sure their voice is heard and work may be done on there. So we'll go ahead and reopen that issue when somebody comments on that item. And we'll just go ahead and save our change there. Easy enough. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to copy the email address that we see here. There's a little handy copy button at this point. We're going to copy this. This is all going to be, again, unique to your session and your instance. So mine is going to look a little different than yours, right? With my individual name here, or my individual ID here. So I'm going to copy this. So I encourage you to do that. And then if you want, you can go to whatever email client you have. So I copy this. I'm going to go over into another email client that I've got, just a simple Gmail that I've got set up from another user. And I'm going to compose an email from this. So I'm going to send this to that long email address there. And I'm going to say the subject is what I want the issue title to be. So, new work, new work needed, something like that. And you could put whatever you want in the description. I'm sorry, in the body. That's going to become the description of the issue. So the title is going to be, the subject is going to be the title, and what I put in the description here, the body, is going to be the description of the issue. So please get the thing working that we talked about. There we go. And I need this by tomorrow, whatever. So again, you can put whatever you want in there, and I'm going to go ahead and send this. Okay. All right. So I've sent that. Now that's going to take just a moment for it to come through. So that's being sent out of my email box. I'm going to come back into my instance of GitLab here and my instructions, and it's going to take a moment for that. So what we could do is when it does come through in a second, we'll take a look at that. And as I mentioned, the subject will be the title and the contents are going to be the issue description. So again, you can use this to get the voice of your customer to pop in. So we can see this if we were to go back into monitor and service desk. As I mentioned, it may take a second for it to come in there, but actually it did. It's right here. So this is a way to track what items have come from service desk emails. So these are issues that are being created in my project, right, as part of my backlog. But if I want someone who's responsible for just focusing on the service desk area, these are specifically what has been requested from somebody outside. We captured the email address of who sent it. This is my buddy Frank. Frank sent this from his Gmail account, and it is some new work needed here, right? And again, if we open this up, this gives me exactly what we typed. I have some new work needed. Please get the thing working we talked about, becomes the description. We can do just like we saw before. We can assign this to an epic. We can link items to it. So if I want to have like items that are related to this item, right? If there are if maybe something's blocking this or blocked by, I can add all that as part of this. Again, it's just a regular issue that we have as part of our backlog. Okay. Cancel this here. And then if I want to respond back, I can say, hey, Frank, whatever we want to say here. Hey, Frank, we'll get to work on this, to work on this as soon as we can, whatever we want to say there. And I can say comment. Okay, so that comments internally. So the issue has all of that associated with it. And Frank is going to get responded back in email because this came from that, because it came from this issue and we commented on that, right? So once again, if I go back into my email, let's see. We initially got this new work needed here. So we get something, let them know, hey, thank you for your support. That's fantastic. And then for your request, excuse me. And then we get the email back from me saying, hey, Frank, we'll get to work on this as soon as possible. So it captured who did the sending and the information back so that the customer is now aware that we're working on this. They could, of course, reply and get additional comments and everything within that issue that we're working on. Okay. All right. So that allows us now to capture our customer's voice as we're going through and be able to continue to work on that from, like I mentioned, from getting feedback, providing feedback to them as the work that we're doing on that. So this is, as I talked about, fully functioning issue. We can assign it to epics and do just what we want it to. And that's really the last part of what we wanted to talk about today in our demonstration. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. We're going to go to a conclusion and talk about just a few more things, but not any more hands-on in the application. So I'm going to close this and see and from the moderators, any questions about that service desk or anything still relaying to the GLQL we showed earlier?
We have one question about removing the signatures from the email. And so I'll send some links to the general chat to answer that.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Appreciate it. All right. Well, let's go ahead and go back into our presentation now, because what I want to do here is talk about how we transfer the project that you're working on right now. Early on, we mentioned that this instance of GitLab that you're currently using right now is going to be around for a few days. But if you're interested in continuing to work with this and see what GitLab has to offer, you can transfer this project into your own namespace of GitLab, right? Right now, again, as I mentioned, you're using a sample namespace, which will go away eventually. But if you wanted to transfer this, there are instructions for how to do so. So let's go ahead and show you. I'm not gonna go through this on the call, but I'm gonna show you where you can find the instructions to do so. Okay. Something to point out as well. If you do not have an ultimate license, you may lose some of the capabilities as well as some of the preset AI group settings in there. Now you can also create an ultimate trial of GitLab if you're interested in seeing what that does. But there are some features that we did talk about today that are going to be related to the ultimate edition of GitLab. Okay. All right. So the way this is found is in the courses, and I'm going to walk you through where this is, right? So I'm going to keep this up for a moment, and I'm going to walk you through where you can find these. Okay, so let's go back out of our issue. Now, in the project itself, right, we can go to the into the project, into the workshop, and we have got a folder here called courses. In this courses folder, we open this up. So again, I'm at the group where we've got the workshop here. We click on courses, and we can see a folder here for transferring project. So we can transfer that project, and that's the instructions right here in this markdown. So we don't have an issue for it like we have with the other ones, but we've got a markdown file where we have all of the steps you'll need in order to transfer this project for reference. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, if you do want to create a new free trial, you can to do that, so you can still focus on and play with the ultimate features. But there we go. Okay. All right. So that's again how you would do that. You would go to your test group. You would go to this workshop project here, and then inside you would see courses, and inside here you'll see transfer project. If you wanted to see as well, you've got the workshops, but yeah, you can be able to transfer the project by showing the transfer project or markdown here. Okay. All right. That's how one would transfer that and focus on those instructions. All right, let's go ahead and conclude out and talk about a few other things. Again, we're not going to do some hands on this because we don't have enough data to generate some of this information. We've talked a lot about what you can do with GitLab for planning for your teams. Creating those, creating, of course, your backlog of issues, assigning that high level work, those epics, tracking that work across in a roadmap, seeing how it all breaks down, allowing your teams to track their work in issue boards, being able to create documentation style wikis for that as well. But we also want to make sure you understand in GitLab, you get additional analytics associated to your, according to for your plan metrics. So now that we've got information set, we want to make sure that project managers, program managers can visualize what's happening associated to the work in their projects, right? Are you executing efficiently? Are you focused on things like DORA metrics, those DevOps research and assessment metrics on there? How well are you, what is your lead time for work actually getting done? Are you deploying in the right amount of time? These are things that we want our members who are using GitLab to understand to see where they stand and are they actually progressing and doing well. So let's talk about DORA metrics. If you're unfamiliar with DORA, DORA stands for, it's not the girl with the backpack, I mean, it's cool, but this is a DevOps research and assessments. And it's really made up of 4 key metrics: deployment frequency, lead time for changes, change failure rate, and time to restore services. These are what this organization has determined are really good metrics to see how an organization is actually producing, and objective data essentially about your development performance. Um, this is backed by years of industry research to make sure that people are using this, but GitLab provides this information as well. We don't have them in our particular instance because we don't have enough data, essentially. We haven't really deployed anything. We haven't had any failures. But over time, in GitLab, you can open up the analytics area and see where you can measure and where you can see this information. How are you progressing in these in this work, right? So very key metrics for folks who are really interested in seeing, are they on track? Are they doing what they're supposed to be doing? Where are bottlenecks being associated with this information? These types of metrics are going to allow your users to see that. Okay. And we can do this at both group and project level. Tony talked earlier on about the organization of GitLab, how you can have multiple groups and subgroups and projects. Well, you can focus on a particular project, one project itself, and look at the DORA metrics there. Or if someone's a little more responsible for a number of groups, they could get it from an overall group level. I'm sorry, a number of projects. They can be at the overall group level and focus on all the indications, all the metrics from all the projects down below as well. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at the next thing I want to talk about is the idea of a value stream dashboard. So value stream analytics can be extremely important. How much are we actually producing value for our customers? Is what we're doing actually working with our customers? We want to identify trends, patterns associated with how we're actually progressing and the work being done. So with this information, you can actually set up, it's up to you as an organization, you can set up what are called value streams, essentially. Are you actually producing work for a customer value with the work you're doing? How soon is that value being realized by your customers? You can set up value streams within GitLab on a project level or group level to focus on how long something is, let's say, staying in each particular state. So maybe you set up a value stream that says it, from when an issue is created until the first comment is made on that issue, meaning somebody has recognized that work needs to be done. You can track that as a certain amount of time, a subset of time. And then from the next stages, once that comment is made, maybe it's moved on the issue board to a new stage. What does that time look like? So you can start to gauge how long your processes are taking at each individual step, again, to focus on things like bottlenecks. Do we need to improve our process in here? Is it taking too long from work getting from first comment to moved stage on the board, something like that? Or from when it gets into planning until it goes actually into commit? Is that taking too long? These are things that you can set up. Organizations are interested in seeing to ensure that the work is actually truly valuable to the customers and they're getting that value on time. Okay. This is actually the graphic I have is different. This is the graphic I'm showing here actually should have been on the previous one, showing those DevOps metrics, showing where we see that deployment frequency, lead time for changes, change failure rate over time. We get these trending diagrams, and we can see where this information is actually coming through if someone who is focusing on that those metrics there. So I got to make sure in the slides to change this up next time. Sorry. Here we go. All right. So that was really what we wanted to take you through today as far as a GitLab plan and the project management within there. I know there were some questions that came in, and I know our moderators have been hard at work behind the scenes. But if we want to open it up to some live Q&A, Logan, Tony, whomever can ask some questions if we want to have them, and anybody on the call can answer. So we'll open it up.
If you want to send your questions either to the chat or the regular QA function of Zoom, I will verbalize those, and then any of our presenters or people in the back end will help answer. And just another reminder, we did extend lab access until the 20th. So if you are interested in more features around GitLab, maybe not just the plan stage, security, CI/CD, AI, the group that you redeemed will have access to all of those. So definitely spend some time messing around in the group and seeing what you can do.
All right, doesn't look like we have any questions coming in on Q&A. So I would just like to thank everyone for spending time with us today. As mentioned throughout, there will be a recording available. Oh, I did see a question. When can we receive webinar document, which we have shared in the screen? We will be sharing this out to you tomorrow via email. A recording and the slide presentation will be available tomorrow. All right, our next workshop is on June 12th at 9 a.m. That is a security and compliance. Hope you can join us then. And I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.